We're here today on the heels of the Astros' historic World Series victory in this very athletic-looking office with a lot of baseball paraphernalia and a lot of famous people on the walls, because we're joined by Dr. Daniel Laby, who is the Astros eye performance doctor. And the data you look at, how do you advise teams and what are you doing? Just give us a quick synopsis.
Yeah, a couple, we look at all different levels of the clubs, from the major league players down to the prospects and the people who are thinking of signing in the draft. And it comes from a need to evaluate their visual ability, not just what they see, but how they use that visual information to make a motor action, to decide on what motor action to make, when to make it, a go, no-go type of thing. And we try to look at the entire process from the surface of the eye all the way through the brain to the nerves to the muscles to make that action. And that can be used, if you look at the numbers well enough, used to help predict which players that you're thinking of signing are going to be good for the future, as well as any issues that any player that's currently on the team may have that we need to correct to elevate their performance.
And Dr. Laby, that part actually really intrigued me, because that felt very similar to our business. You want to take somebody, a player in your case, or a media story in our case, and help it achieve its potential. And so what can I do with what I have? But then working back upstream, the farm system for you or the content queue for us, and how can I systematically identify the traits and the attributes that allow someone or something to perform better, and then maximize the candidate inventory in our case for the posts that are going to do really well. And in your case, it's the farm system for the baseball team.
Yeah, the very, very tight synergy there. And some of the stuff is pretty obvious that you already know ahead of time. If someone has fast bat speed, they're going to probably perform pretty well. But there's always this gray, black box area that we don't have the information in numerical form from the scouts or from the clubs, that we need to try to understand better to be more accurate in our predictions.
I love that phrase you use, the black box, because I think all of our industries have their own black box, and it's sort of conventional wisdom and just experience, and there's a lot of value in that. But you told me earlier, I mean, there's a lot of value in debunking some of what people think. Oh, if I just pick a 6'2" person with high bat speed, that's going to be the best baseball player. Yeah, not necessarily. Same thing with our stories. I mean, sometimes it's quite counterintuitive.
Yeah, you look at Jose Altuve, from this in the Astros team here. Here's a guy who's not very big and not very tall, but he's potentially one of the best guys on the team in terms of getting on base and hitting and so forth. He's definitely not the kind of character you would think would be the winner, but he's got other skills that make up for those deficits that allow you to predict his performance at the level that it's at.
In our business, everybody says they want more data, right? And then you give them more data, and they're like, "Oh my God, that's a lot of data, right? It's too much data." They don't really want data. They want analytics. They want interpretation. They want results.
Absolutely.
And so I'm sure a big part of what you're doing, I mean, you've got these really impressive equipment. I'm sure I can only imagine the data capture that must come in is just terabytes and terabytes of data, but it's ultimately the value comes in interpreting, analyzing, and correlating that data. I have to believe for your business as well as ours.
I think that's the key. We have lots of data that we bring in that we jettison shortly after we bring it in, because it doesn't predict anything more than other data.
Right.
We run it through with statisticians that are far smarter than me to figure out which is the most likely data, which is overlapping data and so forth, so that we don't waste players' time. We don't spend too much time in the spring testing things, but we get the most critical piece of information to make that prediction. Really, it's not just a matter of looking at a linear relationship, it's looking at what type of relationship the data shows, a logarithmic relationship. That's going to drive your understanding of that function and how it contributes to your prediction in the future.
I have to comment on, he said logarithmic relationship, so he started it. It's funny. We deal with a lot of marketers and media folks. We have, when you have a long tail distribution, as I'm sure you understand, one of the ways you deal with that is you plot it on a logarithmic chart so you can see what's going on.
Yeah.
Most people who went into marketing, and frankly, I think most people who went into media didn't do so because of a love of math. And so it creates some interesting challenges, right? You don't want to have a mathematical conversation with somebody who's really not a data-oriented person. I have to believe you have some of those same challenges as well.
We do, and then the challenge, as it is in medicine in general, when you have a disease and you want to describe it to a patient, you can't go through your medical school knowledge to describe it. You need to describe it in a level that they understand it and can make a proper informed decision about what the decision of treatment should be.
Right.
And the same thing with data in talking to front office people or coaches or players and so forth. There's got to be something they can understand.
Yeah.
And you throw out the word logarithmic, you lose immediately. But if you show them a relationship that looks like this and say you're over here and this is where it goes, then it becomes much more personal and clear.
This reminds me of my days at Bloomberg when they talked about Fibonacci curves, and I like the term, but I have no idea what it is.
I knew that.
All right. Thanks very much, gentlemen. Thanks. I think we learned quite a lot, and thanks for joining us.